What is it to be sanctioned? We have a lot of things that are sanctioned in this country, the United States of America, and around the world. They're sanctioned. You have sanctioned immigration, where people from other countries are being brought into northern pagan ancestral homelands of white people and blending us out in a sense of universalism, which they call multiculturalism, which actually it's not a multicultural. What they're doing is they're severing people from their ancient pagan roots, our people, our folk. They're severing us, or attempting to sever us, from our northern pagan roots, from our ancestors, from our folk soul, and from our blood memory. So we have a sanctioned immigration, something that's pushed to the forefront. We have a sanctioned history, that's rewritten by the religious cults of Abraham, where they erase or hide the paganism, the adventurous spirit of our ancient ancestors, of our pagan ancestors, and replace it with something Abrahamic. For example, the discovery of America. The discovery of America was by Christopher Columbus, and they came over here and they found Indians. That's what the sanctioned version of history is. That a Christian, actually they think Christopher Columbus was Jewish who converted to Christianity, but be that as it may, that a Christian founded this. Forget the fact that the Vikings were here hundreds and hundreds of years before that. Forget the fact that archaeological evidence and writings of the Red Man both say that the original Native American was white. They rewrite the history. So how could Christopher Columbus sail over here and find Indians if there were white people? The history of India is that all of Western India was white people. And when the sand cults of Abraham went into those areas, they found Goy, white people, a heathen nation of matriarchal white people that they brutally murdered and stole their young virgin girls as sex slaves. We'll get back to that. So we have a sanctioned version of history as well. But we also have a sanctioned religion. Even though the United States Constitution says there's a separation of church and state, the Abrahamic cults are the most coddled to and supported religions on the face of the planet, and probably in the existence of human existence. They have been coddled and supported, and in the meantime, they espouse persecution, that they're so persecuted. They're tax-free. They can own all sorts of lands. They can take vacations and turn it into a church event and write it off on their taxes. Meals, mileage on their cars, their building that they worship their false foreign gods in. They are a supported religion. There's nobody else that gets those benefits in this country. There's just nobody. So we have sanctioned versions. As long as you abide within those sanctioned versions, you're safe. You're good. You're good. Even in the education system, we have sanctioned versions that are forced into the minds of our young people. Our young folk are going to hear in college classes, possibly even high school classes. It's been a long time since I've been in high school. But they will hear in college classes that our northern pagan ancestors were just heathen barbarians that needed to be civilized, and that they painted themselves blue and had sex around bonfires. Okay, let's just pause for a minute, because these same Abrahamic idiots are going to turn around and tell you that the prototype created by their God is the most perfect, has the most purest blood, which is why they said, that's how they justify incest in their Abrahamic texts, is because the blood was pure. Okay. And so that as time goes on, man got dumber, less pure. But yet, by the time Christianity came along, by the time any of those Abrahamic cults came along, paganism had been around for tens of thousands of years. So by the time the incest of Abraham came about, that bloodline was not pure. Okay, not only that, then that means that our ancient ancestors, our gods and goddesses, our pagan folk were that much more intelligent, that much more civilized than those created beings in that Bible or Abrahamic texts. So this bonfire scene that they paint with magic pagan dirt that never seems to wash off, well, because those same people that have put that out have also put out this. Now, that is a blood sacrifice, okay? Below, the ritual killing and bleeding of a Christian boy is essential to the celebration of the Feast of Passover, as understood by the illustrator of the Nuremberg Chronicle, 1493. Blood sacrifice. Same people that said that about the dirty pagans painting themselves blue said that about blood sacrifice. But in those colleges, if you bring that up, you're anti-Christian. You're anti-Semitic. Wow. So, as part of the Passover Easter celebration, the Christians would drain the blood of a young boy. Something in the blood of children that they feasted upon. Now, that sanctioned version. Sanctioned version. See, this right here, these are the sanctioned versions of the Abrahamic text called the canonized Bible. That canonized Bible, the people who wrote this and who preached this and who kill and murder and rape and kidnap and drink the blood of children are of those people. Now, then they translated, those people translated this, the sanctioned version of our northern paganism. Sanctioned version. This is taught by Asatru as the Bible. This is our Bible, I've heard people say. The sanctioned version, the Abrahamic neo-pagan version, is the Bible of Asatru. Okay, so let's just do a little bit of comparison, because we have, as part of that sanctioned version, we have Odin hung on a windy tree with a spear in his side. Jesus hung on the cross with a spear in his side. Oh, then we have do not trust the words of a maiden or those of a woman. Then we have, that's here, Havamal. And then we have in the Bible that women keep silent. If you have a question, ask your husband. Cover your head. Be in subjugation to the man as the man is in subjugation to their invented Jesus. Sanctioned versions. Then we have Ragnarok, the final Armageddon battle in the sanctioned version. where our gods die. And then 2 are secreted away, so that when a new heaven and a new earth are formed, then they will carry on life on earth. And then in this one, you have Armageddon with a new heaven and a new earth. The sanctioned version is not folkish. Let me say that again. Asatru is not folkish because they are not abiding by a northern pagan lore that is folkishly heathen. It did not come from our ancestors. It came from the translations of Abraham. Abraham gave that to us, and Asatru believes it. It's the sanctioned version. It's allowed to exist because it does them no harm. There's more examples. There's countless examples of the comparison between this and this, the 2 sanctioned versions of Abrahamic religions. Northern paganism has nothing to do with Abraham. The literalization of Valhalla, when you die in battle slain, then you go and eat pork and drink mead with Odin and Valhalla, served by scantily clad women who call themselves Valkyries. Really? This is beyond absurd. Then we have the branch off of that. We have the Valhalla pork mead, the alt-right, who all they do is say hail Odin, hail Thor, hail Freya, and then praise Jesus moments. Okay, I've talked about this before, but let's look at Thor. We have a story about Freya. When Thor loses his hammer to Thrym, and he must get it back. And it is suggested that Freya, who is painted as a whorish maiden, just like Freya, imagine that by the sanctioned version of paganism, Abrahamic paganism, it is suggested that Freya, maiden goddess Freya, go into the dark lands and marry Thrym to get back Thor's hammer. Thor's hammer. Thor, the protector and defender of Asgard. And his hammer. And Freya scoffed, snorted, turned away and says, I have my reputation to worry about. What will my people think of me? So then what happened? The whitest of gods, Heimdall, suggested to send Loritha. Who is Loritha? His name means laughter, laughing. Thor is Loritha. Thor puts on the veil and goes in defense of Freya, so she would not have to go. Again, look at the defense of the maiden, the defense of the young, who will be turning into the people who defend the mound. Thor goes and gets his own hammer back, so that Freya does not have to. She was disgusted at the suggestion of it, worried about her reputation, but yet Abraham paints her as some whorish maiden. He goes and he gets the hammer. He does what he has to do to protect the youth. Now, we look in here and we see Numbers 31, 17 to 19, where they come right out and they tell you, kill all the men, kill all the young boys, kill all the women who have had children, but keep the young virgin girls as sex slaves. Now, the actual story of Freya going to Thrym to marry Thrym, and she would not go, and Thor protected her. And then we have along those lines of sex slaves, and along the lines of blood sacrifice, we have child trafficking, sex trafficking by the by the millions upon untold millions. And we have people who are beating their chests saying, "Hail Odin, hail Thor," as they sit on their asses and do nothing but the sanctioned version. Give me a break. You might as well say, "Praise Jesus, amen." Vaccinations, protecting your children, sending them to the sanctioned education system to have their heads filled with the sanctioned history of blending out our people in the evil slavery that was done by white-skinned people to non-white-skinned people. It wasn't white-skinned people, it was Abrahamic people. That slavery did not exist before Abraham, who gave themselves divine sanction to do it. And guess who it started with? Those people from the South Burning Sands, they started with the Goy, white people. Yes, we were the first slaves in that Bible, a heathen nation, matriarchal people. The history is rewritten, and it's injected into the young. And hail Thor, and hail Odin, hail Tyr. Do nothing about it. But our lore, our actual lore, not this garbage, our actual lore says Thor protects them. Thor is the defense against them. So, neo-Paganism, alt-right, Asatru, all those, they are not folkish. While they may support the existence of the white people and the existence of having our own homelands that are not filled with people who don't have our culture and know our ways and want to change everything, want to change the whole face of our culture, the whole operational system of our culture. Sure, they may learn the language, but everything will be changed. Our blood memory will again suffer. It will, just like it suffered when the forced conversions to Abraham took place. They try to sever the roots. They try to disconnect from your past, from your ancestors, from your blood memory, from your folk soul. Your folk soul can never, ever be diminished. Brynhild tells us that. But we can be severed from it. We can be diminished. But those non-folkish groups that just want to sit there and chant this nonsense are not folkish. They are defending another Abrahamic version, a sanctioned version. And that is all.